Every little girl grows up dreaming about her happy ever after, but most of us don't have fairy tale scriptwriters making sure we get it. That's where the Happy Ever After show comes in. If you have been waiting for a fairy godmother to wave her magic wand and release your frustrations, create the prosperity you want, and live a life you love, then listen closely. It's time to learn how to make your own wishes come true with your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome. I am here today with Amanda, who is one of my clients, and I just adore her, and I'm so excited for her to share her story with you. And one of the best reasons, like I said, I adore her, but one of the best reasons I want her to share her story is that this happens so often. You know, Amanda came to the workshop and got really clear about what she wanted, and when she went home, she realized what she wanted all along was just right under her nose. She just couldn't see it because she wasn't aligned with it. I know that happens so often. What we want, it's already around us. We just can't see it yet, or we can't recognize it, or the person who needs to have the idea to get us there, just we're not aligned with it. So they can't see us in that space yet. And so I'm just really excited to have Amanda with us and to tell you all about her story and how this is all unfolded so beautifully in her life. Welcome, Amanda. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. This is awesome.
And it's going to be so much fun because I love everything that's happening in your life. But where I want to start is, where were you before you did the workshop? Tell us about your law of attraction experience, what you were feeling, all of it.
Okay. Well, for a while, my law of attraction experience, I've been studying it for a while. I mean, I feel like I've been really studying it for years, at least 3 years. And even the last year or so, I was kind of feeling really I wasn't getting anything out of it. Not anything, because I did see some cool manifestations pop up. I was seeing some synchronicities here and there, but I think I wasn't exactly that clear on what I wanted. And that's just so important, you know? And because of that, I was feeling very overwhelmed, very frustrated, really frustrated. But I didn't give up because all the books say don't give up. And I actually, I am proud of myself that I never actually gave up completely. But I was feeling that frustrated and I was just feeling all over the place. Right before the workshop, I was definitely feeling a lot better than I was before I started working with you, a coaching thing. But I was still a little unfocused, I would say. I still wanted that one big thing. I felt like I needed that one big push or that one big piece of evidence, something that really solidifies the whole practice for me. That's what I think I was looking for, and kind of mad, upset that I wasn't there yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that about you. And I remember you always had this list of all these things that you were going to do for manifesting, right?
So many. And also I was actually just thinking this now, even today, my lists are so much shorter now. Even my to-do list, there'll be 3 things that, 3 goals for the day that I'll try to do. But now I could go back and review the list. When I had a list of a million things, I didn't even look at it. I just wrote it and then I pushed it to the side because it was I never even looked at it. The point of to-do lists is to do the things on the list and check them off. And it's funny that you bring that up because I was just thinking that today. I just sat down before and I'm wow, even my to-do lists are so much shorter nowadays.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love that it went into your to-do list because I remember you had this things I should be doing to manifest list. I don't know if that's what you called it, but it was everything I should be doing every day. And you hit the nail on the head. When we have lists that long, we just tend to push them away and they just stay list. And I don't know if this is true for you, but for me, it just feels really not good to have a list that long because I know I'm not doing anything on it.
And it's very daunting. And even what you just said, they just stay lists. It's so simple. It's such a simple thing. And yes, they just stay lists. They don't become things that I have gotten done, They just stay lists. I like that. It's true.
So true.
It's very true.
Yeah. Awesome. So talk to me about, what we did in the workshop in your words.
Okay. I loved the workshop. I took two workshops. I took one at the end of the summer, I think it was, and it
Hmm.
was wonderful, but it wasn't the in-person experience. And it was great. I felt like I got so much out of it and I got so much further in my manifesting practice. But then when I came to Denver in January, it took me I want like 100 times further than the other workshop did. I think the being in person, and I just got so much out of it. So what we did in the workshop, that's what you wanted me to say? What we did in the
Yeah.
workshop?
Yeah. Just
Getting
tell us in
sidetracked
your
already.
words. That's okay. No, I think
Okay.
it's a good point about both workshops. I think you
Right.
were in a different place in the
Yep.
first one, and I think it did really move you forward, but I think it
Absolutely.
helped. The second one is definitely where you got clarity.
Yep. Absolutely. Definitely. And the second one, we did things a little bit different. I think being in person for me, the type of person that I am also, and also where I was and how, definitely makes a difference. But in the workshop, we really got down to what it is that we want, and while focusing on our ideal day. So basically, the first activity, or one of the first activities, we outline from morning to evening what it is that we want in our ideal day, like what's going on. And even I saved the list of questions that you gave us, because that helps even now, when I'm tweaking my scripting a little bit and writing new entries and stuff. That list is so helpful, because just focusing on what it is that we really want, that I feel like I finally figured out what that was in this workshop. So we did that, and we wrote 3 different ideal days. It was really intense, just so much writing, so much getting down to the bottom of what exactly it is that we want. And then over the course of those 3-4 days, I feel like we kind of became that future self, that future person that we were writing about. I did. I mean, I felt it, and it really gave us a chance to do that. While I feel like we dug everything out, we tried to figure out what it was that we wanted. We wrote about it for hours on end. Then we went out and we kind of, acted like our future selves. We had activities to do and things like that. And then by the end of it, it was like the story was written, not just physically written, actually written, like the whole, our future stories were written. Does that kind of sum it up?
Yeah, that's fabulous. Yeah, I love hearing in your words what we did. And that's exactly what we did. You just when you wrote your answers, it was crazy in depth and
Oh,
seriously
yeah.
in depth. And yeah, that's what it was, is getting in touch with that. And I love the way you said, the story was already written. It's not just physically on paper, but it's you have stepped into that person. That's going to happen, right?
Yes, that's perfect. You just explained it better than, yeah, stepping into that person. That's exactly what it was. And the workshop was very intense. I wouldn't have been able to do this on my own, without the prompts from you. I had no idea that's what I was getting into either. I had no idea that we were writing down every little part of everything, but there was no other way to do it. That's the way to do it for me to be feeling the way that I felt on that very last day.
I love it. And I love what happened after, which I'm going to ask you in a second. But I want to touch on we had a conversation right at the beginning of the workshop, and you're like, oh, should I still do all these, money manifesting things? Should I finish my list, basically, right? Mm-hmm. Of all the money manifesting things. And I was like, no, we're going to step into describe where you were sort of in terms of that.
Well, I think I was still doing the Manifest 10K course. Yeah, just the money manifesting course. I went through it once and I was successful. And then I was kind of stuck on it the second time. And then one thing that you said to me was kind of do you think that that's because, you're there already? That's not, your future self isn't going to be taking a money manifesting course. Your future self should know how to manifest money. That's what you want, right? And when you said that, that was kind of oh, that really, a light bulb went on. That makes a lot of sense. And that is just such a big thing, energetically, just stopping it, because that's right. That's probably why it's not working out for me. I felt like I kept, and this goes for a lot of things, not just the money manifesting course. I felt like I kept pushing and pushing against something, instead of flowing with it and going with the flow. And that pushing, it's just so tiring and it's so draining. And that whole time that I'm spent pushing against something, I could easily be going with the flow of something. And I feel like I've heard that concept before and I kind of understood it. But when you said that to me, like it really, really clicked. Like, wow, now I get it. You really, and then even after that one little thing that you said to me about that, like, oh, well, your future self isn't going to be taking a money manifesting course. When you said that, I feel like even now, like, I just think of things differently. Like I'm analyzing different things in a different way. Like, oh, well, is my future self doing this? If this is a little too hard, well, maybe I should think about it this way. So that one sentence that you gave me, yeah, that like changed everything for me.
Oh, I love that. And I love how you're applying it to all areas because
everything.
Yeah. Like now that you know your future self, that question's easier to answer, right?
Yep. I was even writing down because I journal. I try to journal, I don't know, like every other day, maybe sometimes 2 days in a row, just about what's going on and kind of like the evidence logs that we would keep. But instead, I kind of write about like all the synchronicities that are going on and evidence or, awesome things that are happening. Oh, I wrote down today that I'm like really proud of myself for asking these questions. Would my future self do this? Would she say this? How does she walk? What does she eat? I said it in a certain way because I've been doing that more and more lately, and it helps so much. It's so awesome. Like, because I get back into that place that we created during the workshop, and I get back into that place like immediately.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. Which brings me to my next question. Like, what happened after the workshop?
After the workshop? Well, a really big thing that we didn't talk about yet during the workshop, actually, another thing I was pushing towards was my career. I started a blog, but it just wasn't working for a while. And that was something that I was scripting about all the time. I was also scripting about, I think, a specific career at one point, freelance writing and editing. And during the workshop, you told me to stop writing about career. Like, just don't write anything, nothing about career. Like, I can write how I have tons of money and I'm very successful and maybe I have my own business or I'm a successful entrepreneur. I could write something like that, but be vague about it. And that was something I never even thought possible either. Like, but my career, I want career in there. So after the workshop ended, I got back home and about like a week or two later, my dad approached me with a really big job opportunity. He's a financial advisor and he basically has his own practice. He's his own boss. Everything that I kind of wrote vaguely in the scripting is kind of what I was presented with. My father is planning to retire soon, so he kind of wants to groom me for his position. But in the meantime, I'll be able to come on to work within the next couple months, actually. I'll start writing my own business, meeting my own people, getting my own clients, things like that. And he's been doing this for the last like 18 years of my life, but this was never, ever, ever an idea in my head, ever, that this could be a career for me. And then I feel like as soon as I heard about it, and then I went to meet with like his higher up, the managing partner, everything clicked. Like, this is me not being so specific in my scripting and me just writing about financial freedom and, having my own business and being able to have the freedom to go on vacation and do this. That's everything that my father and the managing partner were talking about. So like, I knew that this was it, but it really came out of nowhere. It wasn't even on my radar at all whatsoever. And then all of a sudden it popped up as soon as I was done with the workshop.
I love it. And like, your dad had never, ever mentioned this before, right?
I don't think he even knew. I honestly, because I even spoke to him about it. I'm like, out of nowhere, how come, and he's like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think he even knew.
Yeah, which is so great. And that's why I love this story so much, because what we want, it's already here. We just can't see it. Right. And like I said at the beginning, like, your dad couldn't even see it yet because you were trying to be this person. Like, you kept trying to be this person who has money and pushing. And so you weren't that person. You didn't know that life. And once you did, he was like, oh, like, why haven't I seen this the whole time? And you're like, oh yeah, that's perfect. I love this story. You told me, go ahead.
No, well, that was just another thing when you're saying I was trying so hard, trying to be this person, so if I'm trying to be somebody, that means that I'm not that person. If I'm trying to be a good money manifester, that means that I'm not already a good money manifester. So that all ties into what you're telling me about the course, about, the career being, maybe sometimes it's not so good to be so specific. You saying those simple things, it just clicked in my brain. It was just a completely different way of looking at this whole thing than I had been in the last 3 or so years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that was a key shift. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when you actually got to know that person who is living that life versus you, pretty well the person who was trying to do that. But when you got the person who knew that life, you were introduced to your future self, when you did all those things, then it was easy to kind of see that, right?
Absolutely. That's another thing. I knew, it's not that I didn't know that was the whole idea. It's I knew that concept was there. If I'm trying to be someone, I'm not that person. So I have to step into that person. But I didn't know who that person was. And then after just that one weekend, I created that person more than I ever had before. I was actually, we went out in the city in Denver and we were that person. We were acting as that person. So we got so familiar with that future self. Just being able to get that familiar with that future self, with my future self, that's definitely why it's so easy to now be that person. Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. I love hearing that. And I'm glad you talked a little bit about what happened during the workshop, because I did want to ask you that and I missed that. But would you also share, even during the workshop, money started showing up, right?
Oh, well, for me, yes. I mean, you gave us money. Also,
no, I mean, your friend that out of the blue.
Right. Out of the blue, yeah, my friends who I'm sure will never hear this. He's not that good with paying people back. My dear friend, but he owed me $350, and this is from, I don't know, maybe 8 months ago or even a year before that. I honestly didn't think I would ever see that money. And then out of the blue, while I was in Denver, I think he was starting another job or something, but he said, "Hey, I have that money for you." And I was shocked. And I gave him my checking account number, and he went to the bank and deposited it right into my account, direct deposit, basically. So yeah, it was shocking. That was something totally shocking out of the blue that I was not even, especially I just wrote that money off such a long time ago.
Yeah. Which is so key, I think, into, going from that person who is trying to manifest money, and you had an amount of money that you wanted to sort of manifest in the near future. And for that to just come out of nowhere was really from being tapped into your future self.
Definitely. And I was in such a different place before that. It was just in such a different place. I remember before the workshop, it was so much of a, like we talked about already, the trying and the trying and the trying. And I was just thinking now, I mean, I don't know if I definitely told you. I just quit the job that I was not getting anything out of. It wasn't really bringing me joy. I was talking about quitting it for such a long time. I finally just quit and stopped after, not that long ago, maybe about a month ago, after my father presented me with this opportunity. And I'm taking my test soon to become licensed in the financial sector. I kind of felt like that old job it had nothing to do with the life that I had built, basically. So it just became so much easier just to quit and not work. And I'm not worried about money. I know I'm okay and I'll be okay. And I'm going to start working again soon. But I'm just in I remember holding on to that job for dear life, even before the workshop, I just remember holding on to that job. For some reason, I knew I wanted to leave. I knew it wasn't for me. I knew I wasn't moving anywhere with it. But I kept holding on to it. I was so scared to let it go. And it just kind of slipped away easily.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was just no longer oh my gosh, I love how you describe, you're I'll be fine. Money is coming to me. It's fine. And that's a different version of yourself than you were a couple months ago.
So different. I was so worried. And I have, I'm so grateful, so blessed to have amazing family that has my back. I know I'll always be okay, but I like to have my own, I like to be independent. I don't like asking for things. So I think that was a huge worry. But it's just, I'm fine, I'm absolutely fine right now. And I feel like I'm making more money by not working and driving to work every day and driving all over. I feel like I have more money now than I did while I was working. So that's a different story though.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. So why do you think all of this happened, this whole big change?
Well, I think, and it's funny because when part of the workshop we sat down and we did the interview and we were our future selves and you were interviewing us. And I remember me saying the big turning point was this workshop in Denver, as my future self. I think maybe it was like 5 years down the line.
Yeah.
And I was saying, well, my big turning point in life was this workshop in Denver. And I think and I really wanted that to be true. I wanted that to be true so much. Like before I went to the workshop, that's on the plane, everything, I wrote it down. That was my intention. I wanted it to be so true. And that's really what it was. Like now, even maybe 5 more years down the line when I'm even more awesome at this stuff and you talk to me again, that's going to be the turning point still, which is so awesome. Like it's so true. That was my huge big turning point. That was the big eye opener. I feel like that was the time everything changed.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. Very
It was
cool.
wonderful. I loved it.
Good. Yeah. I'm so glad that you said yes to it in yourself because I see the change in you. Like I hear the change in you, I get it in the emails. I got an email a couple of weeks ago that was like, money is literally just flowing into my life so easily. I just love hearing all those things because I think you were trying for so long. You were in that space of like, let me try and make this work. Let me try and do this. Let me try and get this. Let me try and figure this out. Yeah.
Or, even like I have to do this every day in order to be a good manifester. I have to do this every single day. Even, I remember for a while, even scripting, it's not to say that the things that I don't put on my to-do list is what I get done, but sometimes that is the case. And I remember even like with the scripting after I got back, like I want, I think like 5 days a week, like we talked about, that's good. Sometimes I do it every other day. But when I don't put that on a list, it's so much fun. Like I love coming to that place and writing about my future self. Actually, right now, because there have been so many shifts in my life, yesterday and today, I'm going through that list again that you gave us, the questions, just to kind of like tweak things a little bit. Even like my goals list, I have a be, do, and have list from 6 months ago is so much different than it is now because there's just so many, things that maybe when I first started doing this whole thing, I remember all I was focused on was money. And after a while, it's, everything that everybody says is true. Like it's about the journey and I'm still on the journey. I think I always will be. I'm still learning a lot. I still have so much to learn, but it's not about that one thing that you're trying to manifest. It's about being happy with where you are right now. Even, your email that you sent out the other day. Oh my God, I loved it about the 4 seasons and how it wasn't until you were absolutely in love with where you were in love with your apartment that you were in before or you were in love with the building and the pool and your life and everything. So when you are in love with everything as it is now, that's basically feeling now how you would then in the future. So that's like so important. And I never really got that, I don't think until recently.
Yeah.
And like your happiness is ultimately the most important thing.
Yes. Oh, that's such a good lesson. Very good.
You teach very good lessons. You really do.
Thank you.
And I thank
you. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I mean, I love teaching that lesson because I think that's so important. And I think tapping into that place where you really are happy, like that makes, when you're doing it in your future self, it makes your current reality so much happier. You naturally see it.
And like, if you're just in love with absolutely everything, it just things magically start flowing, everything just starts going the way you want it to. I mean, for me at least, and what we did in the workshop, I need to have a kind of clear vision. And that's what we did in the workshop. Like I was able to finally get that clear vision, even if, some of the things are going to change over the next few years, but that person that I laid out in the workshop, the foundation that I built is still going to be the same. So that was hugely important because I was finally able to see what that was. And also I felt what that was with all the activities and everything that we did.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's so key. Seeing it and feeling it. Oh, I love it. So I just have one more question for you. And that is, what would you tell someone who feels like they've been trying to work the law of attraction for a while? Maybe they've had some successful things, but they're just feel like they're just trying and it's not like working. They're frustrated. They can't bust through. What advice would you give them?
That was me. As you were saying that, that's exactly how I felt. Advice would be, don't stop moving forward. You know, like I said, I could have given up so many times I wanted to, but I didn't. And also, I think the happiness is key thing. Like, you need to really, really, really fill your life with positive things. You need to really, really, really be totally okay and happy and content with where you are now. And it's not, you know, all these little things that we want to manifest, maybe the new job or the money or the car. They're all there for the taking. They're all there. We just can't see them yet. And by being happy with where you are now, that'll open up the doors for these things. So I think that really is the most important thing, to be totally, totally happy and okay with where you are and what you're doing. And if you're not, then figure out how you're going to get that way. Not everybody is. Me, I don't think I would have been this happy at all if I didn't quit my job, you know, and with some people that's the case. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that was great advice. That makes total sense. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I appreciate it. And I can't wait to do follow-ups and hear how amazing everything is going. For those listening, if you are like, I can see myself in her and I'm interested, I want to check out the workshop, we just need to get on a call and do a strategy session and see if it's a fit for you and you're a fit for it. And you can schedule that by going to createmyhappyeverafter.com. That's createmyhappyeverafter.com. Thank you, Amanda, for being here and for sharing. It was so much fun to get to talk to you and catch up on all this awesome stuff.
Yes, thank you so much. I would not be here without you. You're just so wonderful. In every way, you're so, so, so wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And everybody, have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for joining us on the Happy Ever After show, where you don't need a genie lamp to get your wishes granted. Now that you're inspired and ready to take action, get yourself on the path to your happy ever after by scheduling a complimentary strategy session at createmyhappyeverafter.com.